Bitch, and welcome back to another video. Now, guys, I'm sorry to unload sadness onto you. I just want you to have a little bit of peace and happiness in knowing that we will all be reunited with our loved ones again, and that we will all get to see them again and hug them again. This video is honestly very long overdue. For the longest time, because I've been doing so many deep dives into different sports throughout the equestrian world, a lot of people have been asking me to do a top 3 best and top 3 worst horse sports video. Obviously, that's what I've blessed you with today. The purpose of this video is not to sway anybody in any direction. I personally have done every single one of the top 3 worst horse sports, and I am going to tell you a way that you can do each one of those in an ethical manner. The goal for this video is not in finding sports that are completely innocent, but judging sports that have the least amount of controversies or bad ethics and treatment of horses in comparison to the amount of people in them. Obviously, this does not include more obscure sports or sports that are just blatantly abusive. Okay, I'm sorry, we're not gonna even touch on big lick or horse racing in today's video because we all know that those are just terrible. And I know there's a lot of rodeo people. Guess what? Most events in rodeo just are bad. So we are not going to touch on events like this that just are blatantly wrong. Just don't do them. Problem solved. So of course, we are going to start out with the top 3 worst horse sports. But before we get into this video, I have to say the biggest thank you to Petcube. Oh my goodness, they have really stuck with me because I've postponed this video for way too long, girl. You guys, Petcube is the all-time best pet tech company. And they just launched their brand new Petcube GPS pet tracking device. This way your pet is never lost, but always safe and sound. I have been waiting for a product like this for so long. I worry so much about my animals' safety. I take my dogs so many places. I take them to the barn, I take them hiking, fishing, camping, etc. This pet tracking device is amazing, flawless, and gives me such peace of mind. You can really track your pet with unlimited LTE 4G connectivity, as well as live location tracking on the Petcube app. This tracker is equipped with LED flashlight and a buzzer to provide additional location clues in various environments. You can also leverage their lost dog mode with high sensibility tracking if your pet ventures too far and you need a quick response. These are power-saving tracking devices, meaning that they have up to 30 days of battery life. I really love how amazing the alert system is. It shows me exactly how far or how close Rex is, or if he ever leaves my general vicinity. Not to mention, you can also use this GPS tracker to keep your dog active and healthy, set individual fitness goals, and track their progress. This truly is such a thought out design and really built to last. It is an absolute must-have for any pet owner. A big thank you again to Petcube. I love you. I really appreciate them so much, you guys, and oh my god, these GPS trackers are just such a lifesaver. So you guys should really head on over to their website. Not to mention, they have so many other products that are just amazing for you. So be sure to head on over and check them out. Again, it's the first link in the description down below. Check them out, guys. I can taste the hate comments coming my way. If you're a longtime watcher of my channel, none of this is going to be surprising to you at all. So let's start off with number 1 of the absolute worst horse sports. Not in order, honestly, I think all 3 of these are bad, but we're starting with barrel racing. And yes, I am excluding barrel racing from rodeo because there are gymkhana competitions and barrel racing competitions that are not in any way associated with rodeo. I'm also including pole bending in this You know why. You know why. Barrel racers already knew that this video was going to be about them. The reasons why barrel racing ranks #1 on my worst horse sports list is because bad riders that have no equitation, no balance, they fall out of the saddle so easily, they rely on these ridiculous barrel saddles to stay in, and most of the saddles don't fit, most of their tack doesn't fit, most of their tack is not correct, meaning that they're using stuff that's completely useless or just causing problems, like spurs, bits, whips, also tie downs. Why? Why does your horse have a tie down? Do you really think that that's doing something for you? Because spoiler alert, it's not. I swear, I've never seen more people in my life who have no idea what they're doing on a horse than what I've seen in barrel racing. And that's the honest truth, and barrel racers know that that's the honest truth. Okay, girl, don't come for me. Moreover, most barrel racers do absolutely nothing with their horses aside from barrel race, which is why you see all these horses that are overworked. A lot of these horses are lame. They also have serious problems with unregulated drug use within the sport. Even among the top pro riders in this industry, most people drug their horses. Nerve blocks are also incredibly common. Can we just not normalize racing lame horses? That'd be great. And I can't even begin to get into the hilarious starfishing, especially starfishing with spurs. We know that whipping horses does not make them go faster. There's been many studies on this. We know that kicking horses does not make them run faster, and there's been many studies on this as well. We also know that horses have thinner skin than humans, and if it hurts you, it definitely hurts them. Girl, you really thought you ate and you didn't. One thing that I really wish is that they would mandate helmets at all of these barrel racing competitions. I actually can't believe that they don't do that, and that you can even have children riding at certain barrel racing events and organizations without a helmet. It's just crazy to me. We know that 60% of fatalities within all horse sports are head-related injuries. But all of this aside, there are definitely ways to ride and barrel race in an ethical manner. Firstly being, stop doing absolutely nothing but barrel racing. Obviously, get rid of the whips, get rid of the bits, get rid of the spurs. Stop kicking and stop just running your horse around in circles. Make sure that you actually take them out and do more with them than just drive them crazy and run them into the ground. Also, make sure that you take lessons and you learn basic riding, all the foundation you need to develop good equitation and good balance. And definitely make sure that you have properly fitted tack. I could go on and on about barrel racing, but girl, we should move on. And we're moving on to #2 of my worst horse sports, which is dressage. And yes, I am going to put dressage on this list, even though I'm mostly only talking about dressage riders at a pro level or really higher up competition levels. Largely, I think that dressage at lower levels is perfectly fine. I think there are less people who abuse their horses at low levels. When I did dressage, I never competed, but I mostly stuck to low levels, and I really enjoyed it, and honestly, Link really enjoyed it. He was able to really fill out his top line, develop more balance, and it even helped him a lot with his stifle. But yes, pro riders absolutely abuse their horses, and most riders at higher up dressage levels get into more abusive training practices. Roll cur is incredibly prevalent in this sport. Excessive whipping, excessive kicking, excessive spur use, crazy bits. You see a lot of injuries to horses' oral cavities, damage to their teeth, bruising, lacerated tongues, bleeding, etc. I mean, nobody can forget the infamous Patrick Kittle blue tongue incident. I love that I keep bringing that up year after year. All of this really boils down to systemic abuse at higher levels. A lot of dressage horses, once they hit a certain point, are really just treated poorly. The majority of trainers that you're going to find in this sport are very much used to abusive training practices, and therefore it's normalized for them, and they're going to tell you that everything I just said to you is actually completely okay when it's not. And this might be a hot take, but you know what, Matt, I love you to death. I'm just gonna say it. Most dressage horses during competition seasons live terrible lives. Obviously, this is not the case for every single horse, but a lot of these competition barns and show barns, every time you see a luxury horse stable tour on YouTube, almost the entire time, it's all about the people. My last video was in no way intended to attack Matt. I will have to say, it was just too enticing. Your horse is truly gonna be living in a 5-star jail, but at least we got lights in the ceilings. Look at that. I had to do it. Like, you had to know, Matt, that like it was just irresistible. You know, just really empty. I love it. You know what? I saw his last barn tour, and oh my God, was it just one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. When your arena is literally bigger than the turnouts that the horses have access to, I start to see a problem. 18 horses on 3 acres, that's insane. And you actually have to be woefully blind to not believe that that's crazy. And it doesn't matter that those horses are only there for a brief period of time. One day is far too much time to spend in a tiny little jail cell. Now, there are ways to do dressage ethically, and those ways would obviously be ditch the crazy bits, ditch the whips and the spurs, definitely find yourself a decent trainer, and stick to lower level dressage. You know I had to do it. I had to. Jumping ranks number 3 for a myriad of reasons. Firstly, because I believe that jumping at high levels should honestly be banned. I know that that's a hot take, but I don't really care. I think that once you hit a certain point, that horse is actually experiencing real damage to their back, to their entire musculoskeletal system. When you have that much weight, 1,200 pounds, jumping 6 feet in the air and coming down and landing on their 2 front hooves, you are going to do damage to that animal. It's just like if someone was running miles and miles every day or constantly jumping crazy heights every day. You are going to do damage to your body. Most people who jump horses jump way too frequently, way too often, and jump way higher than what the horse is actually comfortable with or capable of doing. Not to mention, you see a lot of inexperienced riders that don't have good trainers, this being mostly at lower levels, and they come slamming down onto the horses' backs. Horses that have improper tack or horses that are being ridden by riders that do not have good equitation start experiencing back pain or numbness after just about 15 minutes. But all of the musculoskeletal problems aside, because I think we can all agree that high jumps are just ludicrously insane, jumping is also a sport that is known for lots of drug controversies. There are so many people within this sport that do try to hide injuries. There's lots of excessive whipping. There's lots of excessive kicking. You see a lot of horses in this industry that are also very overworked. Another common theme.
The reason we have the stick is to use it correctly. And horses need it. They need it. All this, animal rights activists who know nothing about training horses, they need a good licking sometimes.
Why would you do that? My biggest pet peeve with jumping, aside from rider safety, because I just think jumping is kind of stupid in general, I think you're putting your own physical safety at such a risk, is that it is dangerous for the horses, especially when you see crazy courses like what we have in cross country now.
Woods bopping on course there as we were discussing Harry Much and HD Bronze.
Who thought this was a good idea? I'm sorry. Are we trying to send horses to heaven, or are we trying to create actual competition courses that are safe? But there is a way to do jumping ethically. Stick to jumps that your horse can actually comfortably do and don't push them beyond their limits. Also, don't jump your horses every single day. Definitely give them plenty of rest periods. Make sure that you're doing regular vet checkups, and also make sure that you have properly fitted tack. Ditch the bits, ditch the whips, ditch the spurs. So on a lighter note, if you're not having fun yet, you definitely will soon, because we're going to be getting into the top 3 best horse sports. Before I even start though, I know there's going to be some keyboard warriors.
Actually, I saw some controversies in this sport, Raleigh. It's not all good.
Of course, no sport is completely angelic, okay? But these are the sports that have the least amount of controversies, injuries, etc. that come out of them in comparison to its popularity, aka the amount of people in the sport. So because I kind of shat on barrel racing a little bit for all of you Western riders, I'm gonna start off with my number 1 best horse sport, which it's not really the best out of these 3, but I'm putting it at number 1 because Western riders, if you're watching this video, there's hope. Mounted shooting. I know a lot of people are gonna think I'm crazy for saying this, but I actually did an entire deep dive on mounted shooting, and surprise, surprise, it's a lot more ethical than what you would think. There's a lot of care that goes into this sport. They make sure that all of these horses have ear protection, although it's not required. Most riders ride with ear protection and choose to care about the well-being of their horse, so much so to the point where it's very rare that you find a rider that's not using ear protection. Would it be nice for them to mandate that? Yes, but I think that the sport hasn't mandated it because pretty much everybody uses earplugs anyway. A lot of these riders have really good balance and really good equitation. It's very seldom that you see riders that excessively kick their horses. That's because kicking and whipping throws you off balance, and these courses change every single competition. So it's not like barrel racing, where you can just run your horse in the same cloverleaf pattern and drive them crazy. Every single weapon is checked. All of these guns are required to have blank ammunition, which is another level of safety precaution that they take at all of these events. They do take safety very seriously here. It's nice to see. So if you want a sport where you can go fast and have a good time, this is definitely the sport for you. I think a lot of these riders do a phenomenal job of riding. My only downside is I wish that they would mandate helmets for this sport. We all know how important helmets are, and that is something I would like to see them change in the future. Number 2 of the best horse sports out there. Now, this one is actually probably the best. I have yet to see any controversy come out of this sport, either in Europe, the UK, or the United States. I'm sure that there are probably controversies elsewhere, as we have seen controversies come out of the UAE. Endurance riding is super, super fun, and there's a lot of bonuses to this. Mostly being that endurance races are super strict. You cannot just enter an endurance race. You have to train and qualify for every race. Not to mention that there are religious vet checks. There are vet checks before, vet checks during, and vet checks after every single race. There are checkpoints throughout each race to make sure each horse and rider is doing well. And girl, they will eliminate you if they feel like you're pushing your horse too far. Not to mention that they even have limits for these races. They pace every single rider. If there was any horse sport that really cared about horse welfare, it's endurance riding. I know so many endurance riders, all of which treat their horses phenomenally. I've literally never seen an endurance horse that didn't absolutely love what they did. Most of these riders have properly fitted tack. Most of these riders properly train and condition their horses, and a lot of these horses really like what they do. We know that horses travel 30 to 40 miles a day in the wild. And finally, we are going to end on my number 3 best horse sport, which is horse vaulting. Now, this isn't necessarily riding, but it kind of is. Horse vaulting really revolves a lot more around the riders, the gymnasts, than it does the horses themselves. And again, this is a sport that has very few controversies. Most of these riders do need to be very skillful. They need constant training, and a lot of that training takes place at home or at a gym and does not always involve the horse. Most of the horses are very well trained, and they have properly fitted tack with very thick pads on the horses' backs to protect them. The only controversies that I've seen that have come out of this sport are some issues with some of the horses being overloaded and going over their appropriate weight weight limits, but it's really rare that you see this in this sport. And in general, I think a lot of these teams do try to stick to the horse's weight limits, which is nice to see. Also, I see a lot of people complaining about the side reins, but obviously, as with any piece of tack or equipment, it can be abused. It's very rare that you see that happen in this sport though, and side reins are not necessarily anything that would throw a horse off balance or restrict a horse's movement if used correctly. But we did have that one controversy where the Swiss team had a lame horse. However, that horse was immediately checked by a veterinarian afterwards, and I think they were able to get that whole situation resolved and nothing serious ended up coming out of it. But they are very religious about safety in this sport, about veterinary checks, and about their horses' welfare. It's nice to see that they do have a lot of regulations and that they do have a lot of guidelines for people and for the treatment and health and care of their animals. So that's pretty much it for my top 3 of best and worst horse sports. Definitely let me know if you guys have done any of these, how you feel about them, what sports you would rank your top 3 worst or your top 3 best. Leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you guys rank these. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. I'd love to know your thoughts. But otherwise, a massive thank you again to Petcube for sponsoring today's video. And you know what? I've been missing my dog so much. I want to end on just a positive note and show you guys a little slideshow of our life together. And just know that Rain was loved and she loves all of you, and we will all miss her.